So if we are in an AI bubble at the moment and it is going to pop at some point, what is they call it a black swan event.
There are a few of them. There are bubbles and then the things that prick the bubbles, okay? The things that prick the bubbles, typically in the beginning, something that means that I have to sell some wealth to get money. And that's usually a rise in interest rates. It could be something like wealth taxes, something that means I'm very wealthy, but typically the tightness of money, because during that spot, there's inflation pressures and central banks decide that they want to tighten monetary policy and so on. It becomes that the amount of money that I can get by owning that debt at the higher interest rates is greater than the amount of money I could get on my equity investments. That's part of it. Also, what you see is a lot more production of stock. And what I mean by that, issuance of stock. Think of the supply and the demand. There's demand, right? And we've been talking about the demand that makes stocks go up, how we create this wealth. But there's also supply. So you can issue stock. It's very easy. There's almost nothing that's easier to produce than stock.
So if I own a company, I can just print more equity.
Yes. Today, you could probably go out and say, I'm going to make a company and I'm going to take it public. And you go to your audience and your crowd and you can say, I'm going to make stock. Okay. So it becomes when there's a market that wants stock, there's a production of stock.
And
that supply of stock together with the other that I'm mentioning, the need for getting money and so on, causes the bubble to pop.
Are you seeing signs that we're in a bubble?
Yeah. The classic signs that we're in. And the bubble, I should emphasize, it's not a you're in a bubble or you're not in a bubble. It's a degree thing. Okay. There is also that it's in weak hands. I can look at now who is in these companies, right? And is it in strong hands or weak hands? Classic strong hands is that when weak investors, not knowledgeable investors, then put a lot of money into it, particularly if that's in a leveraged way.
Way with debt.
With debt, or they can buy a leveraged version of that. Like there are ETFs now that are leveraged versions of the stock market and so on. And so they get into that. It's more like they're crap shooting. Okay. And then that's a sign of a bubble. So I've listed a few of those signs. Those are the major signs of those bubbles. And so that when it goes down, then you get the fear, then you get the need to raise cash, and that dynamic works its way out in the form of then the reverse happening. In other words, everything becomes cheap and everybody has the spending and the things you mentioned.
If we are in an AI bubble and it is going to burst, I had a friend of mine contact me and he said, Stephen, I think we're in an AI bubble, and he's running an AI company. So he said to me, I'm going to raise lots of money now so that when the markets come down and investors are fearful, they don't want to invest in companies, people stop spending as much, they start thinking about their subscriptions and start canceling subscriptions, we're going to be good and we're going to be able to buy up some of our competitors who are going to be struggling. So he's just raised hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars for his AI company.
Right. And it's probably like that. Easy.
Yeah, it was easy now.
Right.
The question here is like, what should, at different levels, so like the average Joe on the street up to entrepreneurs that are running companies, how do they all prepare for an economic bubble that might burst?
He's such a good example. And what that does, and just following up through on what we were saying a minute ago, is that increases the supply of AI stock.
Okay, yeah, because he sold stock.
Because he's going to sell more.
Yeah.
Right? And so as he and others do that more, this greater supply of stock comes in. And so he wants to get ahead of it in that dynamic. And then, that contributes to the bubble. But how do they prepare?
How does the average person?
I would also say something. The future is very unknown. And people should not be timing. Sophisticated investors have a real challenge even in timing a bubble. So the important thing always is to diversify